Warning, this video contains team selection and captain choices which some viewers may find offensive.
Hey guys, and welcome back to FPL TV. Before we start checking out my team review and preview, here's a quick fixture update for those of you who aren't yet in the loop with the upcoming blanks and double game weeks. So this upcoming game week, Game Week 32, is what's known as a double game week, meaning there's more than just the regular 10 fixtures. Game Week 32 sees 5 extra games being played, and therefore 10 teams play twice this game week. All of the teams shown on the right hand side of the screen now are the sides that have 2 games in Game Week 32. Moving on then to Game Week 33 is what's known as a blank game week, with only 6 fixtures being played. This means that 8 teams won't feature in Game Week 33 because of clashes with the FA Cup quarter-final. So Wolves, United, Man City, Brighton, Watford, Fulham, Spurs and Cardiff all miss out in Game Week 33. Be sure to keep note of that when making your transfers. Game Week 34 then sees a small double game week with just the one extra fixture. Brighton versus Cardiff is the extra game here, so that means these two teams have a double game week in 34, and notably, Brighton play both of these games at home in what look to be decent fixtures on paper. This will probably be the game week where I use my wildcard. And finally, Game Week 35 then sees another jumbo-sized double game week, with 14 fixtures being played, and therefore 8 teams playing twice. In Game Week 35, Spurs, Brighton, Watford, Southampton, Wolves, Arsenal, United and Man City all have 2 fixtures. So it looks like another game week where your chips could really come in handy, and for me personally, it'll likely be the bench boost that I use here. Following Game Week 35, the remaining 3 game weeks then return back to normal, so that's all you need to know as far as the blank and double game weeks go. So let's move on now to my Game Week 31 team review, and I'll make this very quick because 1, it was ages ago, and 2, well, it was an absolute stinker. After weeks of planning, I was able to field 11 players in blank Game Week 31, and only had to take a -4 hit in the process. Unfortunately though, this preparation counted for absolutely nothing, because my 11 completely flopped. 9 out of 11 players blanked to be exact, including new signing Jamie Vardy, who had scored in 3 consecutive games before I brought him in. Standard. West Ham's Lanzini bagged an assist, which was my only attacking return of the game week, and Luca Digne kept a welcomed clean sheet at home to Chelsea. And when Luca Digne is your highest point scorer on 6 points, you know it's a bad game week. So, 30 points for Game Week 31 with a -4 hit. Therefore a net score of 26 points. The one small positive is that 26 points was actually still bang on the average, so it appears that Game Week 31 was a pretty disastrous week for most. This score of course gave me a drop in rank of about 10,000 places, but considering it was such a low score, that's not too bad of a drop I suppose. I now sit at around 41,000, and hopefully with some big double game weeks coming up, I can start to make my way back up the rankings. So, following a nice break away from YouTube and FPL during the internationals, it's now time to activate my free hit chip and talk you through some of my current drafts for the big double game week 32. And as always, if you enjoyed the content here at FPL TV, be sure to support the channel by dropping a like and most importantly getting subscribed. Now, none of these drafts are confirmed, but hopefully it'll give you an idea of the main players I'm considering on my free hit. I'll then post my confirmed lineup over on Twitter shortly before the game week deadline. In almost all of the drafts I've done so far, there's a few players who are pretty much nailed into the side. And these are Jeffrey Schlupp, David Luiz, Eden Hazard, Raheem Sterling, Paul Pogba and Sergio Aguero. These 6 find themselves in most of my drafts so far, so it's basically now choosing another 5 players built around them. With rumours circulating that Lukaku could miss the double game week through injury, Marcus Rashford then becomes the 7th player who will almost certainly make it into my final free hit team. This will of course depend on the fitness of Lukaku though, because if I am to buy Rashford, I want him playing through the middle and not stuck out on the wing. As things stand, there's 2 different punts I've been tempted to take this week. The first being to keep Jamie Vardy, despite only having a single fixture, and the second is to go all-out attack on Man City options and buy Leroy Sané. However, because they're both expensive, it's likely I can only take one of these punts, so my current drafts have been built with these 2 ideas in mind. In Draft 1, it's the more conservative approach, with me opting for a defensive Man City option with Ederson in goal, rather than going for a third attacker like David Silva or Leroy Sané. As mentioned earlier, perhaps most controversially in this draft is that temptation to keep Jamie Vardy despite only having the one fixture. His opponents Bournemouth have conceded 16 goals in their last 6 away games, the worst away defensive record in that spell, and part of me thinks that the single game week players this week could be getting overlooked by us free hitters. This draft also sees me banking on at least one clean sheet from Chelsea in the next 2, with me doubling up on their defence in Rudiger and David Luiz. Azpilicueta is 2 in my considerations, but it'd mean having to downgrade Shane Duffy to maybe Lewis Dunk or Wan-Bissaka. My second draft sees me move away from the Jamie Vardy punt and bring in a full 11 of double game week players. This would mean replacing Vardy with the likes of Wilfried Zaha or Batshuayi, and with that extra cash freed up, then adding Anthony Martial in midfield to switch to a more attacking 3-4-3. Ederson would remain in goal, along with my double Chelsea defence. This second draft will of course rely on some injury updates first, which we should get during the press conferences of Roy Hodgson and Solskjaer, because as things stand, Zaha, Martial and Rashford all remain slight doubts. Now, draft 3 would be to take a much more risky approach by adding a third attacking Man City player like David Silva or Leroy Sané. And although Sané hasn't played much recently and would be a big gamble because of rotation, he's definitely a tempting and potentially explosive option if he does start one of these games against Fulham or Cardiff. Manchester City do have a crazy schedule coming up with 4 games in 10 days. And with an FA Cup semi-final and then the Champions League quarter-final straight after these 2 league games, my gut says that Sané could be utilised in these seemingly easier league fixtures. Because Sané would be such an expensive gamble though, it would mean unfortunately moving back to a 4-4-2. Chelsea's Kepa would replace Ederson in goal, and it allows me to spread my bets a bit defensively by getting in Chris Smalling or Lindelof of United. So that's the 3 drafts I've currently come up with, but as mentioned, nothing will be finalised until Saturday morning, so be sure to come and check the FPL TV Twitter page then. As for the players who haven't made it into these 3 drafts, Luka Milivojevic is a player proving quite popular in the Twitter community. Now, he's someone I may end up including. I'm just finding it hard to get behind buying a player simply hoping to get a penalty. Man City's Aymeric Laporte is another strong consideration. I just like the idea of getting Ederson as a guaranteed starter for their defence. Harry Kane is of course someone I'd like to own in a perfect world, but he's proving to be too expensive for me currently, so his teammate Dele Alli is someone I've considered to squeeze in possibly. Though at the moment I'm leaning towards going with no Spurs cover, with that fixture away to Liverpool putting me off slightly. As for Wolves players, Raul Jimenez is my only real consideration from them, but despite his excellent form and value, I'm a bit concerned for rotation there, with Wolves having one eye on the FA Cup semi-final. Of course, leaving him out could end up being an awful call, but it's something I'm going to most likely be doing. No matter what free hit draft I go with, the captaincy decision still remains the same for me, and it's between City's Raheem Sterling and Aguero or Chelsea's Eden Hazard. Even though I expect Hazard to play more minutes in the double game week, I can't seem to budge on the 2 City options though, because even in one game, both of these 2 are capable of massive scores. My heart wants to go with the explosive and informed Sterling, but after playing 2 games for England and Aguero being well rested, there's the argument there that he's safer to start against Fulham, so right now the armband sits with Aguero. And that's my free hit video done for Game Week 32. A bit long-winded and lots of different options there, but hopefully you enjoyed it all the same and it gave you an idea of which players I'm currently considering. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to drop a like and get subscribed to FPL TV. Good luck to all of you in the big double game week 32, FPL responsibly, and I'll catch you all very soon.